Welcome to the Kapital News. I'm your host, Alex Karitis. Today is Sunday, October 11th, 2020. Thank you so much for joining me. The title of today's podcast is More is Never Enough. I took last Friday off, so I wanted to make sure that I did a podcast this evening. And again, the title is More is Never Enough. This is on the back of the President of the United States wanting even more spending above and beyond even what the Democrats are calling for in some respects. Now, last week we said all of the flip-flopping, the back and forth, the president tweeting, halt. Cease the negotiations with the Democrats. That's it. Our focus is on the Supreme Court nomination and her confirmation process, making sure that Judge Amy Coney Barrett becomes the next justice on the Supreme Court. Then, of course, the market sold off. And, of course, the president, through a previous tweet, sort of in the same tweet rant, was congratulating himself and his administration for the economic recovery that is really not in existence, unfortunately, and this booming stock market, which the only reason why the stock market is up is because of these continuation of these BS headlines with regards to further stimulus, trade talks every once in a while, a vaccine, this therapeutic, yada, yada, yada. And of course, the bulk of it is off of all of the money printing that is taking place from the Banana Republic printing presses around the world. That's why. Not because of a sharp rebound in the economy. No, it's non-existent. This is ridiculous, and now he wants more. So the market sold off when he said, no, we're going to cease these negotiations. Within 24 hours, well within that, does a 180. Oh, no. The negotiations are still on. Put something on my desk and I will sign it. Well, now it keeps going up. Because he clearly understands that the market loves these headlines. The more spending, the better. And of course, the more spending, the more devastating it's going to be for the long-term health of this economy in this country. But pay no attention to the facts. There's an election that needs to be won. I don't care what it costs. I don't care who has to pay the price. Let's spend more money that we don't have. Now, some of the Republicans are starting to push back a little bit. Of course, some of them, even prominent Republicans, are up against some very tight Senate races. Even Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, who's another one who can't seem to get out of his own way. He can't shut his mouth either. And his opponent down in South Carolina, raising nearly $60 million in the third quarter alone for a Senate race. In the third quarter alone. Now, not saying that money buys elections, but it doesn't hurt. So a very prominent and powerful Republican could get ousted in the state of South Carolina. And again, this guy is all over the place too with what he has been saying recently, and more. I'm really pointing out some things, highlighting some things that he said in the past. One, of course, is in relation to the Supreme Court nomination and this process that's going to take place this week. And we'll get to that a little bit here further in this podcast. Of the hypocrisy of the Republican Party, but especially Lindsey Graham. He is the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Hold it against me, he says. If there is an election and there is a vacancy on the Supreme Court, allow the election to determine who gets to make that nomination to the Supreme Court. Let the election solve it. He didn't have to say this. He didn't have to open his stupid mouth and make this stupid remark, but he did. And so did others. That's not in the Constitution. And if there's an election, you got to wait. If there's a vacancy, the president can appoint, they can nominate, and the Senate can vote, period, end of story. But they opened their mouths, and now they are showing their hypocrisy. And if it were the Democrats, they would do the same thing. This is why you have to leave the two-party system. This is why you should not be voting for either one of these candidates. Send a message loud and clear that you are not going to endorse it. It's the most peaceful way you can do it. And then, of course, another remark that Lindsey Graham made back in the 2015-2016 presidential contest, because he was a member of that, trying to throw his hat into the ring to become the president of the United States, a very short stay for Lindsey Graham, was, of course, criticizing then candidate Donald Trump and saying if this guy wins, Donald Trump, the Republican Party is going to lose big and will deserve it. Well, that might be what happens in this election year, because they lost control of the House in the midterm elections in 2018, and now the Senate is up for grabs, and it's right now it is not looking too good for the Republicans in the state of Colorado, in the state of Arizona, in the state of Iowa, in the state of Maine, in the state of Alaska, and in the state of South Carolina. Some places you would think would be very historic strongholds for the Republican Party are now potentially up for grabs. I mean, I don't care. I don't like the Republican Party. I don't like the Democratic Party. I'm sick and tired of these people. But I still throw out some analysis and some strategies that they might want to employ. And I've stated here many times before, if the Republican Party really wanted a chance, it's basically too far gone from that now, but if they wanted a chance, they should have stood up, I should say, to the President of the United States. They've had ample time, they've had ample opportunity to march into the White House and to say to Mr. Trump, Mr. President, enough's enough. This country is at each other's throats. Friends can't talk to friends about politics. Family members can't talk to family members about politics. This isn't your fault. This has been going on for a while. The temperature's been rising, but you are not making it any better. With your rhetoric, with your tweets, enough is enough. You have to rise to the occasion. There's a lot that we can do together, but if you want certain things passed, you're going to have to stop this nonsense, and you're going to have to rise above it. If you can do that, we will work with you, and we'll get things passed. If you won't, if you can't, then we're not going to work with you, and we're going to make it known. That's all you had to do. But this would have been akin to what the Republican Party did to Richard Nixon. They marched into the White House and said, Mr. Nixon, Mr. President, you have to resign. President, and I'm not talking about resignation. I'm just talking about rising to the occasion to do your best to unite the country. Now it's too late. That's the point I'm trying to make. They've had ample time and opportunity to do this, but they haven't. And so this is a referendum on the president, and by extension, it's going to be a referendum on the Republican Party, in large part. Now, they might be successful over the past few years of appointing basically an historic number of judges to the courts. That's fine. And maybe Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, he's perfectly happy with that. That's his legacy. That's what he wants. That's his bread and butter. That's really all he ever wanted. He has to deal with Donald Trump. He has to be the vehicle, the vessel that he uses to get that done. So be it. Because you're starting to see a lot of these prominent Republicans sort of step away and step back from the president. Senator McSally out of the state of Arizona in a recent debate, she's really not supporting the president. I mean, she's, not answering the questions. They know what's going on. Mitch McConnell asked a question about COVID-19 and when was the last time you were in the White House? Well, I'm staying away from the White House because I don't think they're following the same protocol as we are here at the Capitol, and I just think what we're doing here at the Capitol is better than what they're doing at the White House. You think? You think? This isn't difficult. So, with that Supreme Court confirmation process, now the Democrats, at least according to the polls, the Biden-Harris ticket, they got a pretty good lead. As we've discussed previously with the Electoral College math, this is an uphill battle for President Trump and Vice President Pence. Even in 2016, it was an uphill contest. But I think the stars were aligned for the president in 2016. This is a different race. And even in 2016, the president pulled an inside straight by winning Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and even to an extent Ohio. And of course, Florida, which would just be a game changer right there. If Joe Biden should win Florida, that's almost it for the president. He almost has zero chance. The probability. So the math is tough. And the Democrats right now have a good lead in the polls if we want to believe the polls. Now, if there's anybody who's stupid enough or dumb enough to blow that type of lead, it's the Democrats. So, if they get extremely nasty this week with Judge Amy Coney Barrett, like they did with Brett Kavanaugh, now Justice Kavanaugh, that could turn a lot of people off. Or it could really upset people in the Republican Party. People who might be thinking in the Republican Party, you know what? I don't like Trump. I am going to vote for Joe Biden, but I'm hesitant to do so. So if the Democrats come out and they really make a mockery of this and are very vindictive and really make this personal like they did with Kavanaugh, those Republicans who may say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to give Biden a chance because I don't like Trump, they might go back. They got to straddle a line here, these Democrats. And again, if there's anybody dumb enough to blow this type of lead in the polls, it's the Democrats. All right? This would have been like the Republican Party should have been a shoo-in in beating Barack Obama in 2012. Mitt Romney should have won, but he didn't. Because if there's anybody who wouldn't have won it, it would have been the stupid Republicans back in 2012. And that's what happened. They lost. Barack Obama got a second term. And it's very possible that Donald Trump wins a second term. It's difficult and as uphill a battle as he is currently facing. Now, it'll obviously be interesting to see how Senator Kamala Harris questions Judge Barrett this week, because she is a member of the Judiciary Committee. And she was pretty nasty with Judge Kavanaugh during his confirmation process. Now, getting nasty with Judge Barrett doesn't really sync up with putting the country first in trying to lower the volume and lower the temperature of this country and really try to be a voice for unification. Get my drift? You can't really have it both ways. The president and his administration, they all try to have it both ways. The Democrats, same way. And I call it out on both sides. Can't have it both ways. That doesn't mean you got to be a shoo-in. You just, okay, he appointed her, she gets in, no problems. You can question her opinions on the court. You can question her professional career. You can do that. That's what the process is about. But if this gets personal, that can turn a lot of people off. Now, I really don't know at the end of the day how many people are going to be paying attention to this. I think the vast majority of the country has already made their minds up. We have early voting that's already taking place. By the time we get another debate between Tweedledee and Tweedledum, tens of millions of Americans could already have cast their ballots. Because we don't know if there's going to be this town hall. Well, there isn't going to be the town hall debate, at least at this point, unless something changes. Because the debate commission was going to say, well, let's do a virtual debate due to the president's health situation with COVID-19. Well, I'm not wasting my time. We talked about this last week. I'm not wasting my time with the virtual debate. Okay, canceled. Biden has another town hall by himself scheduled, and it looks like Donald Trump might be doing the same thing. So people are already going to... Donald Trump needs a second debate. He needs a second and third debate with Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't need it. Joe Biden's ahead in the polls. Trump was the one that was acting like a madman. Joe Biden wasn't far behind. But the country is blaming Trump for it. Because we saw the polls. We saw how many people were still undecided prior to that debate. Now we're seeing the results after that debate, and the vast majority of them are polling towards Joe Biden. So Joe Biden doesn't need to debate. President Trump needs to redeem himself in that performance, that disaster. So Joe Biden's in no hurry to debate him, but Donald Trump should be. And now they're just going to use this as an excuse. Now they're going to say Joe Biden's afraid to debate and this, that, or the other. It's just all a you-know-what show, as I called that first debate, because that's exactly what this is. It's a disgrace. You got tens of millions of Americans who don't even want to vote. Can you blame them? I don't blame them. You got another candidate out there with Jo Jorgensen. Nobody wants to give her a chance. Nobody wants to listen to her. Put her on the debate stage. She will demolish both of them. They won't know how to handle her, because she's going to talk about those structural issues that we bring up here every single day. And she understands them. And she has some of the remedies for them. Can't even have a conversation on this stuff. I don't get it, but that's the system, isn't it? And that answers the question. It's a two-party system. That's all you get. You do not get a third option. But as we said, more is never enough. Title of today's podcast. More spending. You have a letter that was sent out by the Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, and the Treasury Secretary, Steven Mnuchin, to the Democrats, looking to bring the Democrats over and the Republicans on board, calling out those votes earlier in the year, 96-0. Some of you may have read this letter. I read it earlier today. 96-0. And as soon as I saw 96-0, I said, no votes for America, because that was one of our podcasts. 96-0, no votes for America. And then there was a subsequent vote where it was 100-0, no votes for America. And they even mentioned, they didn't provide the vote count, but they even mentioned in the House of Representatives that it was a landslide, that most representatives voted for these monstrosities. It's what they did. It's what we're doing. We're a banana republic. It's game over. And the president wants to spend another $2 trillion that we don't have. And the Democrats want to spend another $2 trillion that we don't have, maybe more. And some of the Republicans, some of them will go along with it, and some of them will push back a little bit, because they want to play politics. Because now, all of a sudden, now at $27 trillion national debt, now at over $4.2 trillion national deficit, now they're suddenly concerned about the future. Now they're suddenly concerned about debts and deficits. Give me a break. These people are a joke. I don't know how you can support them. I don't know how you can continue to vote for this system. I really and truly don't. I don't get it. So these two idiots, Meadows and Mnuchin, want to, strike a chord here. We were bipartisan several months ago, 96-0. Why can't we do the same thing? Why can't we screw the American people together once again this time? We did it several months ago. Surely we can screw the American people again with another $2 trillion that we don't have. Why not? Yeah, score one for the Gipper here with bipartisanship. Screwed them 7 months ago. Didn't it feel good? Let's screw them again. That's our government. This is out of the White House. And of course, another bailout for the airlines is part of this package. White House talking $25 billion, because presumably $20 billion wasn't enough. That was the first round in these discussions. Now it's up to $25 billion. We gave them $25 billion earlier this year. $25 billion to save 32,000 jobs. For two airline companies, by the way, because several other airline companies have come out and said, well, we're not really going to lay anybody else off because we had buyouts. We cut their hours, we cut their pay, they've agreed to this. So we don't really, no job saved here. But for two companies, we're going to lay off 32,000. You do the math, with $25 billion, it comes out to $781,250 per job. How does this make any sense? These are publicly traded companies. Issue stock. Go to the corporate debt market. Go on your knees begging to your banks. I don't care. The last place you should be coming to is the American taxpayer. I mean, where are the Republicans on this? Where's the conservatism on this? Where's the fiscal responsibility on this? It's non-existent. And this is coming from the White House. More is never enough. Keep it going. Free was never so expensive. You also have on the Democrat side here in this, what they want to call this thing, the HEROES Act or whatever. Of course, if you don't vote for it, I guess you're an anti-hero. See how they do this? You vote against the Patriot Act. Yo, must be unpatriotic, you SOB. It's the HEROES Act. Aren't you for heroes? Are you that stupid? Don't get me started. But evidently there's something in the HEROES Act where it's going to be another 12-month moratorium for mortgages, mortgage payments and rent payments. No evictions. No evictions, I should say. Maybe the government's going to pay the rent and the mortgage. Oh, great. We're nationalizing the entire housing market. Fantastic. Fantastic. We will never be a socialist country. Isn't that what the president told us in one of his State of the Union addresses? So long as he's president, we will never be a socialist nation. So what are we trying to do here? We're trying to nationalize the housing market with this one? I mean, we already basically have a national retirement system with Social Security, and that's going bust. We basically have a nationalized healthcare system with Medicare and Medicaid and Obamacare. I mean, give me a break. I don't understand what people are paying attention to. You just hear the same thing over and over again on Fox News and you think it's different, or you hear the same thing on MSNBC and you think it's different. Wake up and pay attention to what's going on right in front of you. They even say it on those stations. I know because I watch all of them. And it disgusts me because I don't like them. But you got to know what's going on to some degree. Got to listen to some of the arguments. Got to listen to some of the talking points. Those are multi-billion-dollar machines. I'm on here for a half hour a day. Basically, no competition. No competition. Because it's repeat, repeat, repeat until you believe it. And it's unbelievable. And it's part of the problem. It's part of the division. It's part of the two-party system that they want to continue to perpetuate. And that is destroying this country. The economic decay, the political decay, the social decay. One after the next. Trump is not the solution. Biden is not the solution. They don't even talk about the structural issues. The Democratic Party is not the solution. The Republican Party is not the solution. In fact, they are the problem. Do not endorse them. Do not vote for them. They have not earned it. They do not deserve it. Doesn't get any more peaceful in changing your registration to the Libertarian Party or independent or unaffiliated. Leave the two-party system and vote for Jo Jorgensen, a third-party candidate. She can win if you vote for her. You put her on the stage, you'd probably like what she had to say. You can find her on the internet, interviews, her website, jo20, 20.com, jo20.com. You can go find out what she stands for. It's not that difficult. And it's right in your face how this system operates. And how people can continue to vote for it is beyond me, because I don't know what you think is going to happen if you vote for Trump. Because you don't like the Democrats, or you're afraid of the Democrats, or et cetera, et cetera. What's going to happen with the Democrats if you vote for Trump? What do you want him to do? Do you want him to gather them up and put them on a train and send them to Auschwitz? Or send them to a re-education camp? What do you want him to do? What do you think is going to happen? You think they're just going to disappear? And the same thing with people voting for Biden. And you despise Trump and you despise the Republicans. Are the Republicans just going to disappear? You want to round them up and send them on a train to Auschwitz too? Is there any thought process after the next step? I don't think there is. This is regurgitate talking points that you hear on Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or out of any article and news outlet that you want to listen to that preaches what you want to hear. What's the next step? And that's the whole purpose of it. Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, that is supposed to be your brain. That's it. Whatever they tell you, that's it. There's no free thinking. There's no free thought. There's no questions after that fact, after a decision point. It's just whatever they tell you. Have an independent thought. Ask what happens next. Oh, yeah, I don't like the Democrats. I'm afraid of what's going to happen. So I'm going to vote for Trump. All right. Again, where are the Democrats? Are they going to disappear? What do you want to happen? Are you going to cease to be afraid of them because Trump is now president? Well, he's president now. What's going on? I don't get it. Same thing. Reverse it. It doesn't matter to me. Reverse it. You can role play this both sides. That's the point I'm trying to make. That's why you have to leave them. Change the name. Trump, Biden, Biden, Trump. Republican, Democrat. Just switch the role. Because if you continue to buy into this two-party system, then you yourself are a hypocrite, because if your side makes an argument in one year and then they flip another because the other party has power, that makes you the hypocrite. It's very simple. You're more concerned about the party than you are about the country. And both parties, very cleverly, try to make the argument, well, if you're voting for me, if you're voting for the Republicans or you're voting for the Democrats, then you're also voting for the best interest of the country. That's the circus that I talk about here, folks. That's the performance that they put on. Those are those key words that each party uses to get you to fall in love with them. But what about their actions? What really counts? What really matters? 96 to nothing. 100 to nothing. That's the action. Forget the fancy words, the whispering, the sweet nothings in your ear that you want to hear. What did they do, and what are they continuing to do? 100 to nothing. How much more do you need? Evidently, you need for them to do it again. So now they're going to pass another $2 trillion that we don't have. Thank you very much. That's all it is. That's all it is. They tell you what you want to hear and you fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. $27 trillion in debt. You think that just happened because of the Republicans? Or you think that just happened because of the Democrats? You're not that dumb. Put it together. Wake up. Leave them. They left you a long time ago. They aren't concerned about you. They're concerned about themselves. We can print this kind of money, evidently, be told that there's nothing wrong with it. Well, then why aren't we eradicating poverty and homelessness and starvation? And why aren't we medicating everybody who needs to be medicated for illnesses and diseases that we have vaccines for or therapies for? Why does all of this money printing have to go to Wall Street and banks to keep them functioning? If there's no cost to it, okay, well, print the money to keep them functioning and then print all the money to help everybody else out. If there's no cost to it. These are just some basic questions that we can ask Trump and we can ask Biden and we can ask Chairman Powell of the Federal Reserve and we can ask other members of Congress these questions, but nobody ever does. Because they want you paying attention to masks, beans, and statues. And it's a very easy equation. If that's what you pay attention to, then this is what you get. More is never enough. And we have some market performance I want to get to because obviously doing this overnight, we have some futures trading. First to the dollar index, we have it trading at 93.062, relatively flat right now. But very close, once again, to slipping into a 92 handle. We were close to a 95 handle not too long ago. So this is a big reversal in the dollar index, again, trading at 93.06. And this is broad-based weakness in the dollar because we have the euro strengthening up about 0.5%. The British pound is up about 0.8%. Those are both big moves in the currency market. We have a huge gain with the New Zealand dollar against the U.S. dollar, up 1.2%. Weakness of the U.S. dollar against the Japanese yen, down about 0.5%. And weakness in the dollar against the Swiss franc, down about 0.7%. So this is dollar weakness across the board, which is what we witnessed late last week as well. We'll see if this continues. Strong day on Friday for the precious metal space, especially in silver. Right now, overnight futures trading for the Dow Jones is up about 0.4%, up about 0.7% for both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 at the time of the podcast. Japanese cash trade is currently down about 0.3%. On the commodity front right now, we have crude oil at $40.23 a barrel. Brent is at $42.46, both down. Natural gas is at a 20-month high. A 20-month high on the price of natural gas. I guess traders are anticipating a colder than expected or normal fall and winter season. We'll see if that comes to pass. But natural gas is up over 5%, trading at $2.90. Again, a 20-month high. So just as there continues to be some weakness across the board in the economy, now perhaps your utility bill is going to go up, exactly what people do not need. Gold is relatively flat, trading at $1,929 an ounce. Silver is up another percentage point at the time of the podcast, trading at $25.39. So that's some of the market performance. Of course, anything can change. This is overnight. We'll see what comes to fruition tomorrow. But if there is a continuation in dollar weakness, well, then you can expect to see probably some further gains in the stock market and in the precious metal space. And we'll see, of course, if this is a reversal, if this is going to be more downside risk to the U.S. dollar moving forward, or if this is just some sort of little bit of a head fake and then it will continue to rally to the upside. It's really anybody's guess. We know the Federal Reserve wants a weaker dollar. We know the President and the White House wants a weaker dollar because that really helps to boost the stock market. It doesn't really help to boost the economy, but, you know, these jokers really don't care about the economy. They care about the stock market because that's where all the money is flowing into. Follow the money. It's not that difficult. And more is never enough. So more might be coming down the pike. Wouldn't be surprised in the least. And again, I hope that you seriously give Jo Jorgensen a chance. At least look her up. Not saying you have to agree with her, not saying you have to vote for her. I would obviously like that, but at least go do your homework, see what she stands for, see what the Libertarian Party stands for, because this two-party system is just completely destructive. Just completely destructive. And again, I don't know how many more points you need to see. I don't know how many more pieces of evidence you need to see, but I'm here. I'll keep bringing them up to you because they're giving them to me every single day. This is going to be a bumpy week. I think that's putting it lightly. I really hope that Judge Amy Barrett is treated in a respectful manner, her and her family both. And I really hope that these senators focus on her professional career and her opinions on the court and make their decision accordingly. Do not make this personal. The country is already divided as it is. We do not need to throw more fuel on this fire. So I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I will, of course, be back throughout the remainder of the week. Stay diversified, stay vigilant, and stay with the Kapital News. I am Alex Koritis. Godspeed.